Audits, we don't need no stinking audits. To hear VA critics tell it, we already know the agency's awful at keeping timely appointments, but 57,000 vets still waiting for an appointment. To the Wall Street Journal's James Freeman, who says, quit trying to fix the VA. How about maybe just shutting down the VA hospitals? James, good to have you.
Good to be here.
That's one measure, but then what do you do to replace them?
Well, you let the customer decide how to replace them, and that's what's been wrong with this system for years. I mean, as we've learned watching this scandal, it's way beyond Phoenix. It's also way beyond this time and place. You had commissions in the 2000s and the 90s, all the way back to the 1950s, saying the VA doesn't work, it doesn't serve patients.
Why can't they just get vouchers, which I'm told actually some of them can? If you're waiting for care, and you're waiting an inordinately long time for care, just hop across the street or another town to an available private hospital or the civilian hospital and be done with it.
Well, you see in some of the recent congressional debate, there are proposals to expand the opportunity when they're being mistreated at the VA to go somewhere else. But why wait for that to happen? Why force them to suffer through the wait time and then get an escape valve? I think the better reform is to say lots of doctors, hospitals, surgeons out there, let the patient, the customer control which ones they want to take care of them. And you don't have these kind of horrible mistreatments of customers in a market economy wherever the customer is allowed to leave and seek a better option.
All right. Now, is it just too big and unwieldy and bureaucratic, even Byzantine in its setup? To change?
That's a big part of it. You've got a lot of centers, and it's very erratic, the care. I think some would say that at the highest level, where they were given 4 or 5 stars internally, the internal ratings are never shared with the public. That's another problem.
But, by the way, those internal ratings were based on what? Customer responsiveness?
Well, different measurements, including, for example, one thing we're learning is how bad the level of infections were at some of these hospitals, including at Phoenix. But again, this only came out kind of after the scandals. You'd like a more transparent system, and of course, the best way to do that is to put the customer in charge, not to have it dictated from a large bureaucracy.
How bad is this going to get? I mean, we keep getting new revelations, new problems that come to light. What do you think?
It's bad, but I'm sad to say I think it's going to be forgotten by Washington as quickly as they can. I think in some ways that's why the firing of Shinseki was a setback.
But they can't find anyone to replace the guy.
Well, whoever they find, the system largely remains, and unfortunately...
Can't fire people, can't discipline.
You know, they're debating now maybe some, for cause, get rid of some people in that very top layer, the senior executive service, but you really want it to run more like a patient-centered organization, and I don't see the bureaucracy in Washington allowing that. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, James, thank you very, very much. Good reporting as always.
Thanks, Neil.
Well, the VA scandal fallout extends pretty much coast to coast. But when NBC's Brian Williams sat down with President Obama for an interview the other day, it never warranted so much as a single question. Media watcher Brent Bozell not at all surprised. Why not, Brent?
Well, not only did he sit down with them, Neil, but he sat down with him on the anniversary of D-Day, when the conversation deals with the U.S. military, and he still couldn't ask about the VA controversy. Your last guest hit the nail on the head. With the resignation of Shinseki, so too did the media story die, even though there are more and more developments coming through. You've had 1 minute, you've had a total of 2 minutes and 16 seconds. 2 minutes and 16 seconds devoted to this scandal in the past 7 days. Think about this: 43 seconds by NBC, 21 seconds by ABC, 72 seconds by CBS. That's it. The story is dead.
But, you know, we in the media always lob onto stories that have sort of a common theme. And this one would have been a layup for NBC just to see the common theme. You know, Normandy invasion anniversary, the controversy over the release of this Marine, and the ongoing treatment or lack thereof in the Veterans Administration. So for it not to come up at all was a glaring omission.
Neil, it's more than an omission, and I've said it over and over again, and I won't stop saying it. This was deliberate. There is no way on God's good earth that NBC didn't feel obligated to bring it up, but chose not to bring it up. There's no way that this thing was just an omission. This was a deliberate decision made. But look, it's no different than the coverage of Bergdahl. This has disappeared. Benghazi disappeared. The IRS disappeared. Fast and Furious disappeared. Stimulus abuses disappeared. All these scandals are disappearing on purpose. Do you know, Neil, I don't think that you folks at Fox realize this. You're the only ones talking about this right now. The big networks have all decided they're not going to cover this. The Washington Post was the one that broke the story today about the 47,000 veterans. These are our best people in the world who are waiting to get treated. I guarantee you that won't be covered tonight.
Well, you know what intrigues me is the pattern of behavior to look at this, because at least if you want to be the media and say, well, this was going on in President Bush, which it was, there was a lot of concern about the administrative indifference. That would at least be tailor-made to your bias if you want to make that argument, but not even try. I mean, this is pretty
21 seconds by ABC, but 3 minutes on a singing nun. 43 seconds by NBC, but 5 minutes on how to get six-pack abs.
I missed the six-pack ab one, and that's probably just as well. It wouldn't work. But where does this go? I mean, now, obviously, the scandal will continue. They're having a closed-door meeting now in the House, who knew what and when. But even when some prominent Democrats like Dianne Feinstein come out and say, gee, I had no heads up on this, you would think that the severity of the problems of the Veterans Administration, to say nothing of this U.S. Marine situation, would add up to there's a collective indifference to these issues, because even Democrats are raising hackles.
Well, that's true. But when you've got just development like last Thursday, where we learned that 18 American veterans have died in the Phoenix facility, and that's not news?
That's one facility. One facility. Brent, good stuff. Someone's keeping track of this. Brent Bozell, good seeing you again.
Thank you, Neil.
We have a lot of college debt. Well, there's a rescue for that. And guess who pays for that? After this.